Hello. Hello. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. If you don't want to subscribe, then don't subscribe. That's fine. That's fine with me. But today we're going to go over my glass, and I'm not talking about, there's no funny joke there. I'm talking about my lenses, the lenses that I use for my camera. And so first lens that I'm going to start with is the latest lens that I bought. I'm going to go over the pricing that I got it at. I'm going to go the pricing that it's on Amazon for. So this is the Sigma 85mm 1.4. This goes for about $1,200, but I got it for $350. Great lens. I love this lens. You toss it on something like a crop sensor, and it jumps up to a 95 something, 100, and you're able to get those shots from a distance. It is a prime lens. I love my prime lenses. I'm always shooting with prime, which means I don't have to dilly-daddle with the distance. It's always the set distance. I either walk forward or backwards. The next lens is the Sigma 35mm 1.4. I got this lens with a 70D that I bought for $600. So it came with it. I've never used it. I'm sure it's a good lens. It is for a crop sensor. So it's pretty much the same thing as this guy over here, except for a crop sensor. This is the 50mm. But we're going to move on to this. This is the Sigma 17 to 35mm. If you can hear it, it's pretty well busted. I bought it off eBay for $40. It didn't have autofocus, and I just figured I would get the 17 to 35mm and use it manually. But to be honest with you, it's better used as just like a bottle opener, a paperweight. And then now we got this Samyang. This Samyang, I bought it for $360, $360, brand new, and it's a 14mm. It is adjustable. You adjust the aperture yourself here, yonder. You can't use auto or anything with it, which is nice. I'm always using it at 2.8. I don't really move it too much. When I'm not shooting concert photography, I am using this for landscape. Although it does get really great stage shots. A panorama of some sorts. It's got a really wide. It's considered like a super wide angle lens. It's the whole reason I bought it, because it's super wide and it gets those really cool panoramic shots. The final lens that I have is the 50mm 1.4. This was the first lens that I bought with my 60D, and then somebody stole it. Not just the lens, but also the camera body. And that was a month into having my first DSLR. Pretty rough times. Don't really want to talk about it. Should be a tip that is known by all photographers, but keep a lookout for all of your equipment. You spend a lot of money on it, you don't realize it. I guess I don't realize how much money I spend on this stuff until it goes poof. You never know what you got till it's gone. Ain't that the truth? I love it. I love it so much. I use this to shoot everything. Until I got the 85. In fact, the 85 is right up there with the 50mm. The 1.4 is in this one, that one, and that one. I'm a 1.4 kind of guy. I love to shoot the crispiest photo that I can get, as in I knock it down to 1.4 so that I can shoot at 100 ISO even when it's dark out, especially when I'm shooting concert photography. If you can catch them in the light, if you can catch the light on them with the 1.4, you can get the most gorgeous images, to the point where you're able to take it and is this rolling? Okay, we are filming. Good. I recommend this to every single photographer. The first lens you should go out and buy is the 50mm 1.4. If you can't afford the 1.4, get yourself the 1.8. I say that because if you're a new photographer, there's no reason to have a like a 24 to 105 or a 70 to 200 to start off with. You should really start out with the prime lens so that you can get the really knock off that one variable that makes things a whole lot more complicated, which is the zoom effect of any lens. If you're not worrying about distance, which you still are worrying about distance a little bit, but you're using your feet, then the 50 millimeter is the way to go, because then you can worry about your ISO, your aperture, and your sharpening, and your contrast and everything, and all that stuff that goes along with it. These two guys are my favorites. Oh yeah, and before I forget, I do have a 10 to 22 millimeter that I'm shooting with right now. It's on that camera, which is my 70D, which that's a 70D. I got the 6D here. I don't think the body matters much when you're getting started. However, I do love the autofocus on the 70D, and I do love how affordable the 6D is. If you're a photographer, I'd say shoot. If you're starting out, maybe get a 6D. If you want to get something to step up from like the T3i or T6i, get the 6D for photo. And if you're looking for video to get started, get something like the 70D. But if you're not, if you're trying to shoot 4K, go with the Panasonic. I shouldn't be saying that. I should not be saying that. But go with the Panasonic I think it's the G6. It's like $450. Shoots 4K. I wish I would have gotten that instead of the 70D, but I've got all this glass here that I can put on the 70D, and well, that's it. If you enjoyed it, subscribe. If you didn't, don't subscribe. Be sure to comment if you have any questions. I guess I'll base my next video off of the comments that I receive. Bye.